Hello book readers, welcome back to another video. Today is probably my final and largest book haul video of 2025. I've posted a couple of these, one that I actually started in 2024 at the end of December, and a lot of these packages got delayed by Amazon. We've had some pretty bad weather coming in and out of Oklahoma with a bunch of blizzards and ice. So, yes, the last packages showed up. These are all mostly collector editions or collective box sets, and a couple of, random thrillers here and there. I actually have one special one that's probably the largest series I've ever owned. I will get to that in a minute. That had to be shipped all the way from England because it was the only place left that actually had the complete box set. It is used, but it was supposed to be acceptable condition, which means it was supposed to be pretty heavily used, and I was a little iffy because some of the reviews were not good. But I got this set, and mine's practically brand new, never been touched. It smells old. A lot of the pages are yellowing, but we're gonna start with some of the boxes down here. I did open a couple of them because I wanted to look at the condition because some of these were super expensive. So I got a couple of packages that just showed up this morning that I have not opened, but I do know what they are. At least I think I know what they are. And my reading journal still has not shown up. That's the only thing I'm missing. That was shipped from a completely different company. I'll explain that when it actually gets here, but I did have it custom made, and I'm excited. It comes with a fountain pen, which I'm happy about. Okay, so we'll start with the small box right here. This has one box set and two individual books. So sitting at the top here, I got Lock Every Door by Riley Sagar. I'm kind of on a Riley Sagar kick because he's been such a highly recommended thriller author that I just went through and bought a ton of his books. Now, if you all remember in a previous video, which I will put up here somewhere, I actually went through and bought another box set full of his books, and they're in the cabinet, I think, down here in front of me. So yes, very excited to read this. This is one of his most famous novels, Lock Every Door. I got one of the newest Karen M. McManus's books. I think this one came out just last year. This is called Such Charming Liars. It is not, as far as I know, in any connection for the One of Us is Lying series. I think that was only a trilogy. I say that. It actually has 4 books in the series, but one of them takes place at the school, but I don't think is connected to the main characters of the first 3 books. So you have One of Us is Lying, One of Us Next, and One of Us is Back. That all is that part of the trilogy, but then you have You'll Be the Death of Me, which also takes place at Bayview High, but I don't think it's connected to the characters from the first 3 books. I do have The Cousins and Two Can Keep a Secret. Those are 2 standalone she wrote. But I have nothing more to tell, and I didn't know about that book, so I'm going to have to buy that because I'm on a mission to own every single one of her books. She is by far one of my favorite young adult mystery thriller writers. She is so good at doing the whodunit type mystery and just the classic just gossip, everyone has a secret type story, and I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay. Next is a bit of a random one. I never actually planned on reading this series, but since I'm kind of on a fantasy kick, and that is what most of these major box sets are in this set, I figured, okay, I'm going to give Game of Thrones a shot. So why not go all out and buy a collector's box set limited edition. This is a limited edition box set of Game of Thrones. This is by J.R.R. Martin, I believe. Let me see if I'm correct about that. Yes, I am correct in that assessment. I just need to get it out of the packaging. So, I haven't opened these yet. This is a collector's limited edition of Song of Ice and Fire, which is the actual name of the Game of Thrones series. I actually didn't know that for the longest time. For those of you who know that, don't come at me. I don't know much about anything about this series. I've never even watched the TV show because it's just not for me. But I did want to give the books a shot. So, these are all leather bound. Custom leather bound. They have thin Bible-like pages, which I think is interesting, especially for the time frame that these books are supposed to be set in. Okay. So moving on to the huge box. Actually, we'll save that one for last. We're going to open up this one. I actually don't know what this one is. I'm pretty sure it's the Caraval series, which For those of you who don't know, Caraval is by Stephanie Garber. She wrote the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows, Once Upon a Broken Heart. And you technically have to read these first. Now, you don't have to, but I don't want this to be spoiled. And I hear if you read the first book, Once Upon a Broken Heart, without reading Caraval, you'll spoil the ending for Caraval. So, which I don't want to do. So I went out and I bought the collector's, I think, original hardback edition of the series, and all her books are just so pretty. Yeah, it is the Caraval series. So let's open this up. They actually protected my box sets, which I appreciate. Oh, look at these. They're so pretty. Yeah, look at this. I love this. I love all box sets. Okay, I actually don't know anything about Caraval other than it has a circus-like setting, a high fantasy circus setting. And it says, remember, it's only a game. So, I don't know. I'm intrigued. A lot of people didn't like the first book, but they did like the last two. And it got better from there. And then everybody loved Once Upon a Broken Heart. Although I did have heard some iffy reviews on It's a Curse for True Love. So, I'm kind of nervous about that. But I'm excited to read these. And they are so pretty looking. She knows how to make a good cover. So that's mostly what caught my attention. Okay. Now let's go for the little baby right here. I know what book this is. I only ordered this to round out the Lux series, which if you all don't know. Okay. So this is Oblivion. And I'm mad because this book originally had the original cover. This is an updated cover for this series. You actually cannot buy the original covers for the Lux series, and I will show you an example. Let me just go grab a random one real quick. So the series used to look like this. They were colorful, they were pretty, they just had these fantasy-esque like setting on the book. So for those of you who don't know, the Lux series is about a young girl who moves to this middle of nowhere small town and from Florida, and she runs into the Black family next door to her. And it changes her entire life. It kind of snowballs. She finds out that they're actually aliens. So Luxon and the Luxon people are basically made out of light. And they were invaded by their mortal enemies called the Arems, which are the opposite. They're made of shadow with darkness. And they had to evacuate their own planet, and they ended up on Earth. And the government knows about them, and they're highly protected, but they're having to keep their identities a secret from the humans on our planet. So she runs in, finds out their secret. Obviously, she ends up falling in love with Damon, but it's a love-hate relationship, so it's definitely enemies to lovers type thing, especially the first and second book. What I like about this is it's a slow-burning romance, and he ends up hating her in the first book, and she just kind of wants to be friends with him. At this point, she hasn't really fallen for him. And then in the second book, there's something I can't explain to you, but it happens at the end of the first book, and that leads into her kind of hating him. And so it spends the entire second book of him trying to win her over to start dating him in the second book, trying to convince her that they would be good together, even though he was so against dating a human in the first book. It was kind of a funny, like 180 type personality change. So I don't know. I highly recommend the series. What I can't say, and what I'm really sad for you guys who do get to read it nowadays, is you won't get the original covers. They're going to come like this, and they're going to have real human-esque type people on the covers. And, I mean, that's okay. They're still made out of the same material. They still have that really nice, comfortably glossy-like material. So, Oblivion is supposed to be told from Damon's point of view. Now, a lot of people are like, well, why do I want to read a whole other book just from his point of view when you could just read these? Okay, well, there are some, and I tried explaining to those people who did want to read, like, Midnight Sun from Twilight. There are plenty of scenes in the book where, and you have to remember, the book, like Midnight Sun, not this book, but Midnight Sun especially, is the entire Twilight series rewritten from Edward's point of view. And if you remember, there were a lot of moments in Twilight in the series where Edward wasn't there. So you get to get inside his head, find out what he was feeling, where was he at during New Moon, all of that. I mean, that coming up an eclipse and at the end of New Moon where he was, but what was he doing? What was he feeling? I like getting into other characters' head, just finding out how they were feeling in their moments that they weren't, present with the main character. Because that's the hard part about reading from a first-person point of view, is you don't get in the other characters' heads. So there is one other novel called Origin. Yes, I believe it's Origin, which is a whole book in the Lux series by Damon's point of view, and I can't tell you why it's from his point of view, but there is a reason why it's from his point of view. It's the only book in the entire main series that's from his point of view. Now this, Oblivion, she was supposed to release this, and this was supposed to be like a 900-page novel, and because it was supposed to be every single book from his point of view. But because that wasn't cost effective, she couldn't do a printed version of that. So I have to buy the Kindle version to get the original book that has the entire series from his point of view. But this first printed edition, which I just wanted to fill out the rest of the series, this is actually only the first book. So highly recommend you read this. Okay, moving on to this really big box here. We got a lot of books in here. We're going to get through some of the standalones that I have sitting at the top. Okay, so the first series I have to talk about, not that one. It's sad because it is a tragedy, and I did read a little bit of it, and this is probably one of the few series that actually got tears rolling down my face. But I got the first and second book. I got the first one as a collector's edition of this book. This is If He Had Been With Me by Nora Nolan, I think is how you pronounce her name. This is the collector's edition. It's really, really cool because it's cloth bound and it's really soft. It has a bookmark in it, and then the edges are sprayed, and I just love it. Now, I will say, trigger warnings for the book. They are listed on the front page. This is a tragedy. It's gonna make you cry. I actually read the indie version of this a long time ago, before it was professionally published. It had a whole different cover on it. She actually mentions that in the author's note, which even the author's note was super sweet and very emotional, because you could feel the author's emotions and what she was pouring out and how thankful she was for people reading her book, and it was just really heartwarming. And this series was so sweet, but it was so sad, and I have the sequel to it. So the first one is from Autumn's point of view, the main character, and then this one has 3 different points of view. This is If I Had Only Told Her, If Only I Had Told Her. And this is from Finney's point of view. The writing was so good. She really, really made you feel every single emotion, which is something not a lot of authors can accomplish when they're writing a story like this. Next up are one of these isn't very happy, but it is a story. So I got Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This is a thriller. This is about a couple that is going house hunting. They're newlyweds. They stumble into this house of a psychiatrist that went missing a long time ago before this, and they find these cassette tapes in the house that basically are the telling of the story of leading up to her terrible disappearance and what actually happened. And then, the story unfolds from there. And I'm really excited to read this. This sounded very intriguing. Now, the next up is a very dark thriller. Emphasis on dark. And I have read a little bit of this, and it is a dark, dark story. This is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. And my lord, this is probably the darkest thriller I've ever read. Just saying. But it was good. It reminded me of an episode of, my sister loves these really dark crime thrillers. One of them, I think, is called It Couldn't Happen Here, which is all about all these horrible crimes that happen in these small towns. This is what this reminds me of. It's like something extraordinarily horrible that could happen in one of those ordinary places. And it's just really, really good. So I'm excited to finish it. Next up is another standalone. I got the collector's edition. Look how pretty this is. This is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is the anniversary. This is the anniversary collector's edition of the book. Look at the inside. Look at all the illustrations they did. It's so pretty. Now, this is a historical novel that starts off in the 1700s. Okay, and it is about a girl who I believe makes a deal with the devil to, in a desperate situation, she wants to live forever. But the price she pays for making that deal is she shall be forgotten by every person she ever comes in contact with, ever meets. They will immediately forget her face. Until one day she enters a bookshop. I believe it fast forwards to the modern day. I can't remember. And then she finally runs into a young man who I think is illustrated in the back half of the book. And he remembers her face and remembers her name. And then I think the story picks up from there. But I just really... The storyline sounded intriguing. I have never read it, but I found the anniversary edition. I thought, well, you know what? If I'm going to read it, I'm going to go all out. Get the collector's edition. It is so pretty looking. The sprayed edges are so pretty. So, really excited for that. Okay, and then the next... These are kind of the updated, decorated versions of the Dance of Thieves duology, which I'm excited to own. This is by Mary E. Pearson. I've heard a lot of positive things. This is a young adult fantasy romance. I believe it's young adult. And heard a lot of positive things about this. There are some like prequels that you can read that set up the book. I did not buy those. Just a lot of people said it was unnecessary, so I'm just going to read the books. Okay. Before we get into the major box sets that I wrote, I have one last one. This is a thriller. This is called Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This is about a young girl who's married. They were part of the popular girls of town. These two were the most popular women in town. Small town Texas. After a wedding, they went out. They were both drunk. Next morning, she wakes up covered in her best friend's blood. Her best friend's dead. Everybody thinks she's committed the murder. The whole town turns against her, so she leaves, goes starts a new life. But then this podcast picks up and decides they're going to investigate the murder of her best friend, which causes her to return to town and, I guess, assist or figure out what happened, even if she's the one that committed the murder. I'm really looking forward to reading this. I've been told that it's highly recommended that you actually listen to it on audiobook, and that when it gets to the part where it's actually like it's narrating from the podcast point of view, that it's like really, really good. So I always read first before I do audiobooks. I don't know why, that's just for me. I prefer reading the actual book than listening to an audiobook. Now, audiobooks aren't for everyone, but I'm really excited to give this book a shot. I'm just really excited. I've been really excited to read a bunch of thrillers this year. Now, I might have gone a little bit crazy because I have this box set over here, which has the most books. It's 15 books long. I guess I can go ahead and show you what it's all about. Now, this isn't a collector's box edition, but it is an original set. So, this is an original set of the Morganville Vampire series. So, for anybody who doesn't know the Morganville Vampire series, it, unfortunately, to me, didn't get the recognition it deserved because it came out right on the tail end of Twilight in 2006. So, everybody was all about Twilight. And so, these are by Rachel Kane. It is the first, and as far as I know, only young adult paranormal romance that she ever wrote. And it went all the way to 2013. So she kept writing them. I mean, these aren't like shorts or anything. These are full-size novels. So they're all each a full-size book. That's why this thing weighed a ton when it showed up on my porch. I had to have these shipped all the way from England because you can't buy them in America anymore. Not a full box set anyway. You can buy them used, but there's this bookstore that's over in England called Yin Yang Books, and they sell all sorts of like original discontinued used box sets for a really decent price. Now, this entire series probably cost a whopping $130, but I got all 15 of them. These are all like new, original copies. They smell original too because they probably been sitting in there a while. But yes, I'm excited to read these. I read these in, dear God, I read these in middle school, and I did not read all of them. I remember really liking them because it actually is what inspired me to write my own book, The Witches of Cheshire. These are all the original covers. They actually did come like this too. So Glass House is the first, and then the Dead Girls Dance is the second. These are the first and only ones that I read. I think The Dead Girls Dance is the shortest book in the series, and the rest of them get progressively longer. This came out around the line of like the Darkest Power series, which is by Kelly Armstrong. Kelly Armstrong wrote them. So Darkest Powers series by Kelly Armstrong, or the Darkness Rising series by Kelly Armstrong, and then you have like the Morganville Vampire series by Rachel Kane, which Rachel Kane now writes adult thrillers. So I actually have I've showed these in another video too. But one of her series that I am looking at reading is the Stillhouse Lake series by Rachel Kane, and this is just one of those thrillers. If you want to hear more about this series, I think I explained a little more about it in the other video, and I'll link it above. Morganville Vampires aside, now we got the other series. Wait until you see what I got. This is the collector's edition, the complete collector's edition of A Throne of Glass. It actually, now this one was also expensive, I think. Well, no, I say that. It's originally $159, but I got it on sale for $86. So, I saved a lot of money. It has her profile picture and everything on the side of it. All the books and their original covers. I have not opened this yet, which I mean, I probably should, but I will probably after the video. But so I actually read into what Sarah J. Maas was trying to accomplish when she wrote this series. And so I went to her profile page and was reading a bunch of articles that she had written and some interview questions she had answered. And basically, she wanted to rewrite basically Cinderella and be like, what if instead of she was a maid being held captive by her stepmother, she was an assassin? And so thus, the Throne of Glass series was born. You need to read, in her words, too. I found an article where she explained, she has the reading list on her website. She says you need to read Assassin's Blade first, then A Throne of Glass, and then so on and so forth. Now, people say you should read Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn at the same time, and there is a reading list for that provided, and we'll see if I actually do that. Now, I know that this series is a collective like 5,000 some odd pages, so yikers. We're going to see. It's probably going to take me a good year, maybe year and a half, if I don't DNF it, because I've been told that a lot of people DNF this series, but we'll see. I like high fantasy, and it's a fantasy romance as far as I know. Now, one series that I did get that not a lot of people were crazy about, but it sounded right up my alley, and I got the collector's box edition for it as well. This is the Crescent Series Cities by Sarah J. Maas. These are really long books. This is like a collective, like 4,000 pages just right here. Like, at least over 3,000, I believe. Each one of these is almost 1,000 pages, I think, one of itself. I got the hardback collector's edition of these two. And isn't it just so pretty looking? Look how pretty this is. I love it. I love it. I think this is all the covers. Yeah. Now, this has to do with angels. And I freaking love angels. Anything that has to do with Nephilim, angels, all of that, that is me. That is my favorite genre of fantasy. I mean, obviously, I could recommend so many. We have Fallen by Lauren Kay. We have Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. There is the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare, and all the series that Cassandra has ever written. There is the Daughter of Smoke and Bones series. That is by Laini Taylor. There is the Sons of the Fallen series by Jacqueline Osborne. The Strange Angels series, and I forget who wrote those. Lily St. Crow. Lily St. Crow, she wrote those. There is, if you want a little bit of a more steamy romance, there is the Marked Ones series by Sylvia Day. That's a trilogy, not a series, but still. Those are all really, really good. Sorry, my face itches. So those are all ones that I highly recommend you give a chance if you want angels. And then I will let you know what I think of these. Now, I know a lot of people, there are some people that just felt like Sarah J. Maas didn't write these, or it just wasn't, it was completely different than Sarah J. Maas's type of series. But I appreciate an author who steps outside their comfort zone and writes something they may not have done before. Because she's wrote ACOTAR, which A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then A Throne of Glass. Those are all within the same realm of fantasy, I feel like. And then I think A Court of Thorns and Roses was to be like her version of Beauty and the Beast, I think is what she said. And then Throne of Glass was based on like Cinderella. Now, Crescent City isn't based on any sort of fairy tale she's ever written, as far as I know. This is like her first like original concept where she just came out with this, wasn't inspired by much of anything. So I'm excited to read these, even though they are insanely long. I've learned that Sarah J. Maas likes writing, like she likes to push her limits on how much she actually can write in a single book. But yeah, look at this. Her box sets are solid. I have the collector's box edition of A Court of Thorns and Roses sitting up on my shelf right now. Now I have the collector's box edition of A Throne of Glass and Crescent City. So the first book is House of Earth and Blood. Look at this. So pretty. Let's look how many pages there are. Oh boy. You know, just right at 800 pages, so that's not bad. That's manageable. Okay, so 800. So there probably is about 2,000 some odd pages in this entire series. So I can read an 800-page book easily. That's how many pages were like in the City of Lost Souls and the City of Heavenly Fire. So, I mean, no, I'm not gonna lie. I can't finish it in like a single day or anything. It'll probably take me just right at half a week, maybe not a little bit more. But I mean, let's say I think this Empire of Ash, yeah, was like 980 some odd pages. So that's right at almost 1,000 pages, which I don't think I own a single book that is 1,000 pages long, unless Midnight Sun really does push those boundaries. But yes, so all of these, some of these will probably go on my TBR just to make myself read them. The ones that I'm not sure that will go on my TBR, I think, okay, so Carnival, or not Carnival, Caraval, first book will definitely go on the TBR because I feel like I'm going to have to force myself to read it because, again, it's a long series. I mean, if you put Caraval and Once Upon a Broken Heart together, that is 6 books, and that's a lot. So, Caraval, definitely want to finish both of those series, hopefully within a year, but I'm not 100% sure. I might have to throw a couple of Sarah J. Maas books on there because these babies are long. And I don't know, there's something stressful about starting a series that is just that long. Morganville Vampire series, I'm not sure will go on the TBR because I've been really looking forward to rereading these. And these technically would be a reread for me. The rest of the series will be new for me, but now I will say it's been probably about a decade since I've read these. So do with that what you will. So yes, some of these thrillers might have to go on there. I don't know. I've been really looking forward to this one, so this one probably won't go on TBR, but we'll see. I might put it on there for a certain month when I'm really feeling it. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this major book haul. I think I'm set on books for the next couple of years. But I just wanted to do, this is my collector's box set edition book haul because that is what most of these were. And I'm just really excited to share all of this with you and then get more videos out. As of right now, I haven't really started editing. I mean, I've been trying, which I probably will sit down and start doing today and just trying, because these should be super easy and I'm just going to hammer them out and do simple thumbnails. But anyways, I really hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Just keep reading, stay inspired, and Lord help me, I will try to get through some of these long books. But I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.